Hey, welcome everyone to another episode of Keeping Receipts. This week's episode, this is Doug, the Dugout, coming at you, and I'm here as always with my fellow Torontonian, my friend Chris. What's going on, Chris?
Not doing too bad. Jays win 2 in a row. It's been a while, so maybe we're back on track. I guess reason to be happy this morning. Pretty good. How are you doing today, Doug?
I'm doing well. They look more like their normal selves. A bit of a concern with the pitch count
Mm-hmm.
with Dylan Cease. He threw 5 innings, and his pitch count was at 112.
Whoa.
So, and he's consistently had either just shy of 100 pitches or over 100 pitches. Now, I know he's durable, Dylan Cease, but he has had Tommy John in the past.
Yeah.
I hope, we need him to have 30 plus starts, 32, 33 starts even. He's been amazing so far, but that was his first win. He's 1-0.
You know what?
It's the problem. Runs up till now.
It's one of the problems with strikeout pitchers, Doug, is they need those 3 pitches at least.
Yeah.
When you said 112, 5 innings, I'm thinking, didn't Roy Halladay have like several complete game shutouts with like less than 100 pitches? So maybe we got spoiled with Doc.
Yeah, he kept it tight, and so did guys like Maddox. They'd keep that pitch count low.
Yeah, and put the ball in play, right? Put the ball in play on the first or second pitch, right?
Yeah. And Vladdy last night, he looked like his playoff self from last year, when he tore it up in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He was swinging like his dad used to swing, like Vlad Sr.
Yes.
Going after like unhittable pitches that 99% of MLB hitters would completely lay off. Or if they swung at it, they would just completely whiff and not even touch it. And he's hitting it down the right field line for a double, and he hits it hard.
Yes.
Right? So just a special player. But his swing path, when he's hot, is so much like his dad's. It's crazy. It's crazy to see.
Well, I just very quickly, Doug, I want to give a shout out to one player. I felt last year the Jays didn't start out too hot, and we had a little bit of injuries. And then I started to notice as the Jays started winning, Nathan Lukes was a huge part of that. Lucas, sorry. And I'm starting to see that again, that if Lucas is patient and has that good approach and he's got that good plate discipline, I feel like that's really infectious. And for me, oddly enough, being like a, kind of a quad A player, so to speak, I see when Lucas has that plate discipline and he's looking good with good swings, I feel like the rest of the team follows.
Yeah, that plate discipline was their MO throughout the stretch last year, and especially during the playoffs. And no one personified that more than Lucas. Like he set the standard in terms of fouling off pitch after pitch after pitch, grinding out quality at bats. He was still doing that. To begin the year, but the results were just not ending favorably for him.
Right.
And he rarely, if ever, had anyone on base.
Yes.
So, they weren't scoring runs. However, he in particular, Lucas, he had a case of vertigo that he was dealing with. Now, I know
this season,
yeah. Yes. So like recently. Now, I don't know the specifics of how severe it was with him, but I do know as a former baseball player, like if you have any balance issues whatsoever, like you can't hit, you can't get the looks that you need to have. You're not going to be able to pick up the pitch, and in turn, your confidence just suffers, and you just can't play, right?
Yes. And as someone who has suffered from vertigo, I'll tell you that you're useless, man. Once you get a bout of that, you literally can't do anything. It's akin to having the spins when you're really, really drunk. That's what vertigo feels like for me, anyways. So some people kind of question it.
I can probably relate to that, in years past, but
I think
vertigo itself, I don't think I've ever had it, but I've heard that it described that way before.
Yeah, definitely. For
sure. All right. So as a bit of a segue, I was preparing the content for today, and I had a back and forth with Chris, and we had a text exchange, and I received a text. I don't know whether it was an inadvertent text at the beginning when I got it, but it was directly from Chris's dog.
Yeah, I think.
It was from his dog, Wilson. So the text came from Wilson, and it actually fit the thread.
Oh, nice.
So, I mean, I thought maybe it was a pocket text, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, APL-M, eh? Yeah.
Yeah. Wilson said the text that Chris's dog Wilson sent was APL apostrophe M, and that could have fit. Like maybe he was saying something like April, man, or April maybe.
Yeah,
April maybe.
yeah.
You know, like when do you want to discuss these things? April maybe.
Yeah.
So it fit the context.
Yeah,
right?
maybe my dog thinks for my behalf. I got to tell you the story, Doug. I laid my phone down on my bed, which I've been known to do. And then I came back to see your text and it said pocket text. And I thought, that's funny. And then when I read what I had sent to you, I'm not the most sharpest pencil in the drawer, so to speak, but I'm pretty sure I didn't put APL-M. So yeah, my dog was sitting on my bed next to my phone. So I just, I blame him for a lot of things. So this was one of those.
Well, I was thoroughly impressed. If Wilson can send a text and he sent it, whether it was accident or not, I was impressed. And in the context of our conversation, it actually made a little bit of sense when I thought about it.
Right on.
So nicely done.
Yeah, right on. Kudos to Wilson. I'll have to videotape him next time so I can catch him in the act.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, do you think the Raptors can avoid the sweep?
That's a good question. I'm not sure, Doug. The Raptors had that winning 13 out of 14 games earlier in the season after going 1-4. Opening day against the Hawks, I thought, okay, this is the team I envisioned. I do see us being around 4th or 5th best team in the East. Then we went on that run, and I felt a little bit validated, vindicated. That I thought, this is the chance that the Raptors are kind of stepping into their window. But yeah, I got to be honest. I've since seen a lot of teams overtake us. I didn't think Atlanta was better in the beginning of the season than the Raptors, but I do think they are better as they're constructed now, getting rid of Trae Young and Kristaps and bringing in some good pieces in McCollum and Kuminga. I don't have much hope for the Raptors in particular, Doug. If the Raptors have any chance of winning any games in this series, you kind of need Ingram to score 30 points. Yeah. Cleveland doesn't really have a good defensive matchup for Ingram, so that's one place that I thought the Raptors could take advantage. And especially last night, they absolutely did not take advantage of that. Ingram was really cold for the field. He didn't really seem like he was looking to be the top dog for our team. So, I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's just the way this roster is constituted. But, no, if I had to put money on it, I think maybe they extend it to 5, 6 if they're lucky. But I think they'd be lucky to extend it to 6 games.
Yeah, I was watching an interview with Scotty Barnes the other day. And I know his personality is kind of laid back and subdued. But I was looking for a bit more fire from him. Like a little bit more intensity heading into this series. But that's a tough draw. Like Cleveland is absolutely a tough draw.
Right.
Donovan Mitchell is like an elite player, probably one of the top players currently.
Right. I think it's kind of exposing us too in terms of lack of defenders. Scotty is our primary defender.
Yeah.
He's better as like sort of a help, like in between gap defender when he's sort of cheating off his man. And unfortunately, he's our strongest point of attack defender. I mean, God bless Shed, but he's kind of small. So you're asking Scotty to take care of Mitchell when he gets hot, Harden when he gets hot, and Mobley if he starts popping off. So the fact that he doesn't know what his defined role is, or he doesn't have like specific things he can look at as to what will bring the team success. He's sort of just asked to fill in all the holes, which the Raptors have a lot of now. So I do think that adds to the, adds to him being indecisive and not quite sure what actions he wants to run or how he exactly wants to exert his force and strength. So he's sort of caught in between. I don't blame him, but as someone who's watched a lot of Raptors games, especially going to them, I have noticed this tendency of Scotty. Sometimes he uses his size and strength really effectively, and he's really aggressive in terms of forcing the issue and getting into the paint, 2 feet into the paint. and sometimes he's kind of passive. And for the first 3/4 of the game, I saw him a bit passive. I think in the fourth, he had a couple of drives when he had smaller defenders on him, which helped. But yeah, maybe a little too little. I think he needs a little bit more.
They don't have the experience, and they don't have the seasoned playoff performer like Cleveland does. Like the three guys you mentioned are all playoff performers, right?
Right.
They understand the first round. They're not going to get too excited, and they're just probably going to take care of business, right? And they have so far.
Well, it's kind of easy too when you have someone like Harden who's been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got his questions in the clutch, obviously, but everyone just kind of knows their role when you have a dominant scorer and ball handler in Mitchell and Harden in the backcourt there. So yeah, Mobley can be that third option, and then he can be very effective. You have Jared Allen in the role position, just burning any of the Raptors bigs when they're caught in between on that high pick and roll above the break. So yeah, maybe a couple of years. Hey, Colin Murray-Boyles looked pretty good. So that's
that's true.
Yeah.
Well, I'm wearing my Nuggets hat today.
Oh, nice.
I am.
Good one too. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got the old school Grizzlies hats on.
Yes. So Vancouver, not Memphis. Vancouver. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, the original Big Country Reeves and Sharif Abdur-Rahim.
Yes.
Those two studs, right? Yeah. Did Vancouver ever make the playoffs back in the day?
You know what? That's a good question. I got to say no.
I didn't think they did.
My memory. I think their closest snip that they had is they had a team of Bibby, Eric Dickerson, and Sharif Abdur-Rahim. I watched that team twice live. And man, when they were on, they could shoot the hell out of the ball. Dickerson and Bibby was kind of one of the best backcourt shooting duos I had seen. That was.
Well, Bibby was legendary in college, right? I mean,
right.
I think in the College Basketball Hall of Fame.
I can't remember who the big was for that squad. Country Reeves was already gone. They had Stromile Swift at the time, but I don't think that team made the playoffs. And then I think Memphis's first playoff run was with Hubie Brown and Paul Gasol, if I'm not mistaken, like 2005, 2006, something like that.
Yeah, I remember all the hype around Big Country Reeves when he came out of Oklahoma State.
Right.
And but he just didn't really pan out in the NBA. But
no. I think a couple of people saw it coming, to be honest. But
yeah. All right. Well, anyway, the Nuggets and Timberwolves are tied 1-1.
Yeah.
And I only caught the ending of the game last night, but it appeared like Denver had the game like well within their grasp.
Yeah.
And then late in the game, they were missing free throws, which is kind of uncharacteristic. Now, Jamal Murray, who is Canadian, he's normally clutch with the free throws, right? And with the threes late in the game. He kept missing shots.
Yeah.
And they needed those free throws, right? Yeah. They were drawing some fouls, but they weren't drawing the fouls that I thought should have been drawn, right? In particular, Rudy Gobert was being really physical with Jokic, and the refs were letting that go from what I saw. Now, I don't know if that's because Gobert has developed a reputation. He's got that credibility and respect around the league now, and he's more likely to get away with things. But there was some physical contact that led to Jokic being contained, and he was contained. He was held to less than 25 points. I mean, he still almost had a triple-double, but by Jokic's standard, his stats were still a lot less in the first round of the playoffs than what you're accustomed to seeing out of him. So Gobert contained him, and as a result, the Timberwolves won. So do you think that they're kind of just letting them go early in the playoffs here, more so than in the regular season?
I will tell you this, Doug, that I did see Denver and Minnesota being two of the top 4 teams in the West. I think OKC, Spurs, and Denver and Minnesota are the cream of the crop out West. I do have Denver coming out of this series, but marginally, because Minnesota's really, really good. They're kind of underrated. They don't have the depth or the amount of stars that some other teams do, but But McDaniels is legit. He's a legit second option. He's a two-way player, really, really good, really effective, and his 3-point percentage is really high this year. And then you do have some pretty good role models. Obviously, I believe Anthony Edwards, come playoff time, is one of the top 5 players in the league. I believe he sort of has that moxie that when the game's on the line, his value sort of increases more so than, as an example, someone like Jamal Murray. As clutch as Murray's been, if I had to have one of those guys sort of leading me to the end of the game, I definitely want Edwards.
Well, we've talked about the ratings. We've talked about the ratings kind of shrinking, right? And I think Ant-Man is the American hope, right? He's the U.S. superstar that can kind of.
He's our throwback to Kobe and Jordan. They really sold tickets, those two. And going back to the Gobert and Jokic thing, to me, it feels like. I do feel like Jokic is one of the greatest players of all time. I think people need to realize that these amazing skill sets that these, generational superstars bring are slightly different. Jokic is a bit more cerebral. I think his real gift is his computing power and his court vision. Jokic has always kind of seemed to read the floor and know where all of his 4 teammates are, know where all the 5 defenders are, and just he's able in a split second to decide which one of his options are the highest percentage. I think for the first time that I've ever watched Jokic play after he reached this superstardom level, I saw a little bit of indecisiveness. It was like the computer processing was a step too slow. And I wouldn't even say too slow. I would say for the first time that I saw Jokic be a little bit pass heavy, which surprised me. Because one of the things I love about Jokic is he's not trigger shy. He knows his value and his percentage around the elbows, even at the 3-point line. He's an amazing 3-point shooter. So he doesn't pass up good shots for great ones usually. But yesterday I did notice, and I don't necessarily think it was Gobert. I just think Jokic had made the decision at the beginning of the game that there was more value in him being a playmaker than a scorer. And then I believe in real time when, I think Minnesota was preferring to take away the pass and play the teammates and sort of play Jokic straight up. Whereas in the past, Jokic has really made teams pay. His split second indecisiveness sort of cost him yesterday. Especially in the beginning of the game, Denver looked like they were going to have game 2 in the bag. They looked pretty comfortable.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I think Jokic will make the correction. I think last year when OKC really took away his teammates, Jokic was putting up historic scoring numbers and really shooting more than he typically does. So I think that's the case. In terms of Gobert, he is a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. I think maybe even 4, and rightfully so. Like his switchability, his ability to protect the paint. And, even Victor Wembanyama won unanimous Defensive Player of the Year. Good for him, youngest player ever to do that. Victor Wembanyama's rebounding numbers aren't that great when you look at them. Whereas Gobert, I don't think Gobert's ever averaged less than 11.
Well, Wemby's probably learned from Gobert. I'm sure he's.
Oh yeah. But you see that Wemby's a fraction of the rebounding that Gobert is. So Gobert is a stronger rebounder. And aside from that, when we're coaching kids, we always tell them, like, don't reach hands straight up. If the guy makes a shot over you, good for him. But I think that's what Gobert does best. He allows his length to sort of be the deterrent, and he doesn't so much swat at the ball. And then the last thing, Doug, is I feel like in this day and age NBA, especially in the post, where, just a side note, the most effective offensive play in basketball for the past 10 years, it's not even close, is a Jokic post up. Okay. So I think the Nuggets should have gone to that a little bit more down the stretch.
Yeah, I don't know what the percentage is on that shot, but he seems to hit it pretty well every time, and you can't defend it.
There's no play in basketball that scores higher points per 100 possessions than Jokic post up. which is funny because everyone talks about the post up and post basketball being dead. And then actually, I think Cat also is up there. Sorry, not Cat, Giannis this year with historic post up numbers. So it's not as old offense as people think. Yeah, I just, in terms of this post up matchup and the refs letting it go, I actually prefer that. In the post, when it's two big guys and usually the offensive player initiating the the contact, I feel like unless the defender, his physicality has affected the shot or the release of the offensive player, I kind of don't want the refs to call anything down there. I'd like to see the big boys bang it out, right?
I know, me too. I mean, that's what you pay to see for sure. But interestingly, Gobert got called for, I think, a couple of offensive fouls. One that was really late in the game. And then, Denver ran into the free throw problem, right? They just couldn't hit the free throws.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Gobert's a unique player. He has that reach that you spoke of. He's a 7-footer, right? But once these guys get into the key, right, we don't see the pressure that we used to see. We don't see the physicality that we used to see, right? So there's some names that absolutely pop up when you think of that defender in the key that would just make guys pay. And they were intimidating, right? And the first one that probably comes to mind,
we all know who
would be well, I mean, Charles Oakley back in the day, right? He was one of the guys.
I thought you were going to say Shaq for a second. Whenever my son or any of the young guys talk about physical post basketball, everyone just brings up Shaq right away, you know?
As a defender, yeah. I guess
yeah, more so at the offensive level, like, you know, just give him the ball 3 or 4 dribbles from the net, and then Shaq's move, what was it called? The boom, 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 I think he called it.
Yeah.
Which was basically just an offensive foul in today's basketball, maybe. But
but don't you think they let them mix it up, and the physicality was just what they let it go back in the day, right? They would just let those guys grind. They get bloodied up, and you know,
and you know,
just go at it.
The picture you have on the screen now is perfect. I'm always trying to explain to young Raptors fans the value that Charles Oakley gave the Raptors. You know, he was not a great scorer, really funky release on his shot, known for being primarily a defender and a rebounder. And, you know, not even a fleet-footed defender. You know, I don't even think he would have hung in today's NBA. But, you know, he added so much value. You know, he wasn't even tall. He wasn't even a rim deterrent or rim protector in the traditional sense. He just would foul you so hard all the time that it gave offensive players doubt that when they saw Oakley in those big old hands, they did not want to get chopped. So they had to ask, they had to ask themselves, is it worth it for me to go into Charles Oakley's house? And 9 times out of 10, the answer was no. So just that deterrent alone made the Raptors so much better defensively. Again, I don't know in this day and age how that would have looked. It was a different time back then, but but absolutely, it's just so much value. And we had many, many players in the league that were not fleet-footed and they couldn't shoot, and they added tremendous value to their team, which, that's a question, like who knows what that even looks like today, right?
Yeah, like Bill Laimbeer, he was, crazy and physical, right? He was just a menace in the key, and he would go after he would just show respect to nobody. It could be Michael Jordan, could be Larry Bird. He would just go after guys, right? And more often than not, bloody them up. Yeah,
well, the famous Kurt Rambis clothesline, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
There was no play on the ball. That was just physical punishment. And, you know, it cost the Showtime Lakers the series, where every time they had a lane to the net, every time they thought they had a fast break opportunity, they were looking over their shoulders because they knew that they might get clotheslined. Which, as a coach, when I'm coaching young kids, I don't like to see this strategy. Like, you know, I think everyone there doesn't want to see people get hurt. We want to see a fair competition. I personally, Doug, I don't even like it when the opposing team loses their best player and it gives our team a better chance to win. I just feel sort of cheated. I want to see the best players compete against each other and see who comes out, right? But
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but there's something about the old school mentality of people treating this more as a conflict. I gotta say, I miss the days of the NBA when people were not friends and they actually had animosity, and there was no handshakes at the end of the game. Famously,
Isaiah and Magic before the game,
oh, absolutely, yeah. Oh, and Detroit and Chicago, they hated each other, right? Knicks and the Heat, even in the 1990s, they hated each other. That's sort of what we grew up watching, and it was fun. I can't remember.
I remember Jordan hated. Well, he's alluded to in Last Dance how much he despised Isaiah Thomas, right? Which I found surprising, because he would greet Magic whenever the Pistons played the Lakers, and they would exchange that hug or whatever, hug and kiss before the game. And then when the Pistons played the Bulls, they would just butt heads, and it would be nothing but animosity and hatred, right? Before, during, and after the game.
Yeah, and I don't know the details, but I got to say, a lot of people hate Isaiah Thomas.
I know. Well, he's had some off-court stuff. Definitely.
Yeah, but
I don't know if that's the reason.
I will say this. I believe right now, and I've said this to a lot of people, I believe that in his prime, Isaiah Thomas was the greatest point guard the NBA has ever seen.
Yeah. Dumar is one of the best shooters, right? They had.
Well, he was clutch and he was tough. But I don't think anyone argues that it was Isaiah that stirred that drink. And I think something that gets lost in NBA circles, and this needs to be mentioned more, I think, he beat Jordan, Bird, and Magic in their prime. The only guy to do that and come out on top as a champ. He did it 2 years in a row before his body gave out. I remember watching a game on Rewind of, I think it was an 88 playoff game, where Isaiah Thomas literally only had one leg. And I think he got like a triple double with 42 points. Like he just, he was such a hooper. And I think part of his competitive streak is what made guys not like him. In particular, guys like Magic and Bird and Jordan, because they themselves were pretty competitive. It just, something about him in particular. Yeah, they really didn't like him.
I think I remember that. The Pistons won it again in, what was it, 2005? 2005 with Chauncey Billups, and was Rasheed Wallace on that team, I think?
The two Wallaces, Rasheed and Ben. We had Mehmet Okur coming off the bench. You had Tayshaun Prince and Rip Hamilton. I believe Lindsey Hunter was on that squad. People, if you're not remembering, the Lakers had just picked up Karl Malone and Gary Payton. And everyone thought that the Lakers were going to come back to win, after they had lost the year before to San Antonio. San Antonio won it all. And the Lakers won game one, but they lost in 5 games because after Larry Brown made the adjustments for Detroit, that wasn't even a series. And Detroit went on to smoke the Lakers. And, I tell the young kids not to get too down the rabbit hole, but that was the beginning of floor spacing. When Mehmet Okur subbed in for Ben Wallace and they had 5 players out that can shoot the three, Shaquille O'Neal didn't know what to do. They couldn't hide him in the paint. He had to come up and defend one of the shooters, and
he just couldn't move around. He didn't have that level of agility on that space on the floor. It's funny though. That championship kind of gets lost in the shuffle of NBA folklore, right? Because when you think of the Pistons, you think of the back-to-back Chuck Daly, Isaiah Thomas bad boy years, right? But that team, the 05 team, they dominated, right, throughout the playoffs and then in the NBA championship itself. So. Right.
And I think they really carried the bad boy mantle. Like, there is no more bad boy than Rasheed Wallace, one of my favorite players of all time. Ball don't lie. I think he has the record for technicals. I think he's like first and second in technicals in the season if Draymond hasn't passed him. But so you had Rasheed and Ben Wallace. So Rasheed was like the outspoken bad guy, but my son looked at Ben Wallace and said, "Dad, even if I was standing next to him, I'd be so scared. He looks like such a scary man,
Yeah,
right?" So,
intimidating dude for sure.
oh yeah, he was.
But apparently the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah. That's why I say Rasheed Wallace was more the outwardly bad guy, and Ben Wallace just looked the part, but he was actually a nice guy. So.
Exactly. Yeah, so shifting gears, we're talking about championships, and I guess that's a bit of a segue into MLB and how things have shifted technologically, because in the 2017 World Series, otherwise known as Cheatgate or the sign stealing affair or whatever you want to call it, there's still some animosity and some ill feelings towards the people who were involved in that controversy. And even though those players have moved on, the core players have all moved on, they still get chirped when they go to opposing teams.
Now, I'm going to ask you, Doug, I'm going to ask you to fill me in because my memory isn't that good. We know this was the Astros that committed this. Yeah. But who are the teams that specifically felt the most aggrieved by this? Who are the teams that feel like they lost the series to the Astros because of this?
So the Dodgers were playing the Astros in that World Series, right? Okay. And if you talk to LA fans to this day, they thought they got robbed. I mean, the Dodgers had not won a World Series in quite some time leading up to that series, right?
So can you just explain the allegations for me and the people at home? What exactly was alleged?
Well, I believe that the series went 7 games, and so it was close. It was a very, very close series, right? Obviously. But I think throughout the duration of the playoffs and perhaps even during the regular season, this was going on. It's called the trash can controversy, right? So a sign would be stolen. The catcher would be giving the pitcher the sign. So, for example, number 1 would be fastball. Number 3 inside would be like a changeup inside. Now, catchers back in the day were always taught to tuck their elbow in, their left elbow, if they're catching the ball with their left hand, tuck it in as far as you can. And the glove is over the left knee. And then the sign is tucked right into the groin. And that should prevent any peripheral vision from coming in the first base side, the third base side, and stealing the sign. So the only person who should see that sign is the pitcher, and maybe the center fielder if they've got, perfect 20/20 vision.
What about if someone's standing at second, Doug? Isn't that a spot where they can see it too?
Well, yeah, I guess they could see it, but usually they mix up the signs. So, for example, the catcher would give an indicator, right? So the indicator might be sign 1, and then the next sign would be the actual pitch.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So the catcher would go like 3-1-3, which would be a changeup. So the sign right after the indicator is the hot sign.
I see.
The guy standing on second base has too many other things to be concerned about. And if he's really dialed in to try to steal that sign, then chances are he's going to get picked off.
Right.
Or he's just not going to be alert, when the ball comes into play. So it's rare. I mean, it still happened, but it's very rare that the second baseman would be able to steal that sign. But anyway, the allegations were they had like almost a telescope in center field, like in amongst the stands, or a small, technologically advanced at the time telescope that could zoom in on the catcher giving the sign to the pitcher, right? And then some text message would be sent to the dugout, and then in the dugout, someone would smash a trash can.
Okay. With the bat. Before you continue, can we just discuss how hilarious this is that we're using all this technology with telescopes, and then the final signal is as prehistoric as banging on a trash can?
Right. I mean, the sign itself is primitive.
Yeah.
And the relaying of the sign is as primitive as it gets.
Yeah.
Right? Smashing away on the trash can. So, I mean, they would smash on this trash can, and then the hitter would know, obviously, what pitch was coming.
Right. And so it's basically the hitter's looking for off speed or fastball. That's the main thing they need to know, right?
I think so, or who I don't know how specific it actually got, but they may have stolen signs up to the point where they knew when the slider was coming.
I see.
Where they knew when, the splitter was coming.
Right.
It wasn't just off speed and fastball. Like I think they had it down to a science where they could relay the exact pitch that was coming.
Right on.
And anyone who's ever played baseball would know that if you know what the pitcher is throwing, it's an enormous advantage.
Right.
Enormous advantage. I remember, like, I played college ball for a few years, and I was playing junior college ball in California in the 90s, and we played an all-star team from Japan. And the Japanese catchers had not been taught how to conceal their signs as well as the American catchers had. So they were leaving it open on the first base side. So I stepped up to bat, and the first base coach comes up to me and he says, "Do you want to know what's coming?" And I'm like, "Yes, yeah, I want to know what's coming." He's like, "Okay, well, if it's it was only off speed and fastball though, like you mentioned." He's like, "If I say let's go, Dougie," it's a fastball. And if I say, "Come on, Whiteside," it's off speed. Simple enough, right?
Yeah.
So sure enough, he's like, "Come on, Whiteside." Changeup comes down the pipe, and I just like torched this ball over the third baseman's head for a double, right? And I felt great. I stand on second base, and the shortstop says to me, "Nice hit," Japanese accent, "Nice hit." And I bowed my head. I'm like, "Thank you." I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel bad at the time. Is that a lack of integrity on my part? Well, years later, I've kind of thought about that, and I don't think so. I think that's gamesmanship, and trying to steal those signs is as old as the game itself. Right?
Well, if you ask me, I think if there's not a specific rule saying that these are against the rules and you're in violation, then I don't think it's cheating. I think if you're not using stuff within the gray zone, you're not really, doing your job in terms of trying to exploit every advantage there is. But I did have a question going back to this Astros things. I've got two questions, Doug. What were the consequences to the people involved, if any? And how did the rules change afterwards as a result of this?
Well, the only consequence, I'm sure there were fines towards the organization, but the players themselves did not get fined. I don't think they did. I'm not 100% on that, but I don't think they were fined. They definitely weren't suspended.
Yeah.
AJ Hinch took the brunt of the penalty. So that's the manager here. Excellent manager.
So what happened to him?
Just a brilliant baseball mind. He was suspended for a year.
Oh boy! And then was he fired as the Astros coach?
He was.
Oh, great!
He was fired as the Astros manager, and now he's.
Thanks for winning us a title, coach.
Yeah, right. I know. Now he's the manager of the Detroit Tigers, and I believe he is the huge centerpiece, the core of that resurgence in Detroit, because he is a brilliant strategist. Right, going back to his days playing, he was a catcher for Stanford back when I was in college, and everyone would talk about this Hinch catcher for Stanford, right? And how great he was. Now, he didn't have an outstanding career as a player in the major leagues, but as a manager, he has really, really established a reputation as one of the best, one of the very best. But this controversy is a stain on his reputation. I don't like that it's a stain on his reputation. I'm not an advocate for it. I think he did what he could to get his team to win. I don't even know if it was his idea. Was this something that Hinch came up with himself? What I love is that he didn't throw people under the bus. Like, he took responsibility for it and moved on. Right. But there were a lot of all-star players on that team. Justin Verlander, George Springer was the World Series MVP that year. Alex Bregman, Carlos Correa, excellent, awesome players who have all moved on, and they are reluctant to answer questions about it.
Right. And didn't Correa's effectiveness sort of taper after this amazing run too? Like, he's not quite the player after Houston as he was in Houston?
Yeah, I mean, he's been injured. He's had to deal with some injuries, but in Minnesota, he's had some time where he's been amazing. Defensively, I still believe he's one of the best shortstops out there.
Wow.
Just fluid, awesome defensively. Offensively, he's never been great. He's been good, and he was still good in Minnesota. He is still good, or he's back in Houston now. He's playing third base.
Oh boy.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, his production probably tapered off a little bit.
I wonder if it had anything to do with the trash cans.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, Bregman's production didn't taper off, right?
Mm-hmm. Or Altuve, right?
And Altuve's kept his production. His numbers have stayed essentially where they were during that controversy. So no, I mean, they haven't really tapered off, right? So it's hard to say. I mean, clearly it would have helped them. Like the story that I told, it helps any hitter if you know what's coming. And that's all any hitter wants.
Right on.
Is to know what's coming.
Yeah. So I had another question. In terms of the ABS now, how would that situation have played out if it happened today with ABS? Would it have been the same?
Well, I don't think it's ABS so much that affects it. I think it's the pitch comm that now eliminates sign stealing from behind the plate altogether. Right.
So because the pitcher and the catcher are using technology to communicate directly, not using signs anymore.
That's right. So the pitch is programmed using a code. It's like a remote control that the catcher's got on his waist attached to his belt. Mm-hmm. And the catcher knows the keyboard. It doesn't even need to look at it anymore. I mean, it's like a joystick on a PlayStation, right? After a while, the catcher just becomes completely proficient with it. And he's able to type in the pitch without even having to look down.
So you can't even read lips anymore.
No, you really can't. And pitchers don't shake off signs. Well, that's not entirely true. If you get like a rookie catcher and a veteran pitcher, they might shake it off, but it's rare. I mean, it's normally just the catcher calls the pitch, and the pitcher just would oblige with whatever's called.
I'm going to tell you,
that does eliminate sign stealing from behind the plate altogether. So had pitch comm, which I think it was in its infancy in 2017, and MLB was considering bringing it on. Had they brought it on, then that cheating scandal wouldn't have been an issue at all. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, because I think I remember hearing back in the day, well, if we can figure out what signs you're putting out, then you deserve to have this information on the opposing club.
I mean, that's the argument. That's the conventional argument for gamesmanship.
Right.
And I believe in that. But where Houston took it a step further is texting the dugout. You're not supposed to text the dugout, right?
I see. But do they not use watches now? Don't they have smartwatches that they use?
I don't think they had that in 2017. I don't think the Apple Watch was out.
Right. No, not at the time. But in this day and age, we are now using that technology, right? Or baseball is using the MLB.
I don't know. I'm not sure if they can receive texts during the game. They're not supposed to.
I see.
You're not supposed to be texting. And that's a separate controversy is the Emmanuel Clase betting scandal, right? Where there were parlays that he is alleged to have been involved with, where he was receiving text messages in the bullpen about what pitch to throw, like a ball or a strike, when he got into the game. And so him and another pitcher were involved in that. So that's one of the reasons why they don't allow any texting whatsoever. So, I mean, the Astros would have known that rule, and they breached that rule. So for that, there probably should have been a punishment, right? So and then bringing in the telescopes. I mean, I don't have a new age telescope, but they make them so they're tiny now, right? Mm-hmm. They're tiny, but they're still. You can zoom in from like 1,000 yards away.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can't have laser pointers, and I don't think you're supposed to have these telescopes, and you're not supposed to text in the dugout. Now, they didn't have a laser pointer, but they did have that telescope, and there's no question that they were texting. So,
yeah. Well, those rules make sense to me, Doug, because I feel like baseball is one of the sports because of its sort of stop and go nature. There's a lot of sort of nefarious things that can happen with betting if you did allow that communication from the outside world into the dugout. And your example of what a pitcher is going to throw on the first pitch is a great one, because I know that one of the players that was involved last year, that was the allegation, is that his strike rate is amazing and his command is amazing, but somehow his first pitch of every at bat is wildly out of the zone, and someone's making a lot of money off of it, right?
And he was still the best closer in the game. So isn't that crazy?
Wow, that's
he was giving away all these passed balls and wild pitches.
Yes, it makes me admire the guy more. He doesn't even need all his pitches. He's like, pitch one of the count, screw it, I'll just throw whatever.
Exactly. What is baseball just too easy for him?
Yeah,
you just bored? It's crazy, man.
All right, I got one last question I was thinking of, Doug. We talked last week about how, I thought that all the discrepancies were taken out of baseball with this new technology. I kind of figured that now that we had the ABS system, there wouldn't be any more controversy. But what kind of plays, where is that still happening in baseball, even despite us having this new technology? Where are the judgment calls still, so to speak, within the game?
Yeah, we did talk about this briefly last week, but I think the timing of the challenge, right? Managers have been ejected for that. It's supposed to be like a 3-second window. So if that's breached, that the challenge isn't supposed to be issued. But there have been a few ABS challenges where that's probably been breached, that 3-second window. Now, I don't know if they've got a clock that's visible pertaining to the ABS challenges. I don't think that they do. I think it's like just an honor system that it should be within 3 seconds that they issue that challenge, the hitter, the catcher, or the pitcher. So there's that's somewhat subjective, but the traditional components of the game that are still in place would be like the check swing, right? That can't be challenged. You can appeal it. The catcher can appeal it to the first base umpire or the third base umpire.
But no technology challenge, just an umpire challenge.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other one is box. So that was one where Jays manager John Schneider got tossed last week. There was a balk call against Kevin Gausman. He tapped his toe a few times, and then the balk call was issued. So that's still a subjective one that the home plate umpire can issue. And then there's also obstruction and interference. So if a base runner's on the base pads and he gets hit by a ground ball, then he's supposed to be out, right? Or if he is running down to first base and takes an awkward path running off the baseline, that's still subjective also. So there are certain things that are still in place the way they've always been, but not a lot. By and large, it's being overtaken by technology in terms of the challenge system and so forth.
So you think we're going to see the Tesla robot umpire sometime soon, or is that? I
really hope not, man, because I love the exchange, the dust kicking, the coach, the manager getting in the umpire face. I love the dialogue and the discourse, right? Like, what are we doing today? We're talking sports, right? And I think that's a healthy thing. Right. And part of the discourse on the field itself during the action is between the official and the coach, or the umpire and the manager. And removing that entirely, I think, is like removing a chapter of the game's history. And we're definitely not ready for that. I'm not ready for that.
Maybe that only matters to old timers like us. We grew up at a time where in our youth, human interaction and experience meant a lot more. Exactly. I think nowadays, these young kids, they say, hey, if a computer can handle it all, why not? We could just skip the human interaction. But yes, I agree with you. Even going back to the pitchers and the catchers, I used to really get a kick out of watching them not be happy with each other over the calls.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, that was one of, these are all the most entertaining parts of the game, right?
Yeah, like there was an interference call last week where Ohtani got in the way of Brandon Valenzuela, the Jays rookie catcher's pickoff attempt to first base, right? And it should have been an interference call. It was an interference call. So he got to go to first base, but Ohtani was clearly pissed off that the kid hit him with the ball, like stood in front of him and essentially hit him with the pickoff attempt, right? So, there's still drama that can be preserved through those subjective aspects of the officiating and the umpire's calls. So anyways, I'm running low on juice here. It appears I'm not going to throw my daughter under the bus, but my charger's missing, and I think I know the culprit.
Yes.
So anyway, yeah, man, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was good. We maybe went a little bit off topic. I go down the hole in basketball sometimes, but oh, there goes Doug. He lost the juice. I was going to ask Doug if he had anything to add, if he could tell the nice people where to find his work. And you can find that on Substack, The Slam, Scarborough. I suggest everyone check it out. Doug does really good work. And on behalf of Doug and myself, we will be back next week. We might have some more controversy to talk about, or we might just reminisce on the good old days. So again, on behalf of Doug and I, you guys have a good one.